Hi.
Lost in the heat of it all.
Hi, Craig.
Craig caught that. That was a good vibrato. Was that a vibrato? I don't know. I can't tell. Okay, so Anna and Ahmed, y'all got to duke it out for who's going to start. More or less.
Chapter 4. Mysticism of sound. Before its incarnation, the soul is sound. It is for this reason that we love sound. Sorry, Ahmed. The man of science says that the voice comes from the spine, the diaphragm, the abdomen. The mystic says that sound comes from the soul, the heart, and the mind. Let us see whether this is true. Before we sing or speak, the thought of singing or speaking comes. If we have not the thought, we cannot sing or speak, and before the thought, there is the feeling that causes the thought. In order to make the thought concrete, we must speak. The sound goes through the ear to the mind, the heart, and the soul. When the thought is spoken, its power becomes greater. If a person speaks of his sorrow, if he tells his grief to another, often he may begin to cry. While he kept the feeling in his heart, the thought in his mind, he did not cry, but when he spoke, he wept. Sometimes a humorous person, when telling something funny that he has seen, begins to laugh at his own words. While he only thought of it, he did not laugh, but when he speaks of it, he laughs. If we keep a thought in our mind, it has not the strength that it has when we speak it out. If you repeat, flower, 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 your mind will be much more impressed than if you only think of the flower. This is why the Sufis repeat the name of God and do not only think of God. There are Sufis who repeat the 99 names of God. There is the wazifa, the namaz. There are different ways of repeating the name of God. The effect produced is in accordance with the soul and the heart from which the sound comes. If there are 4 violinists, all of whom have studied for the same length of time, and they all play the same piece of music one after the other, they will each play very differently. Each will play in accordance with his musical temperament, his heart, and his soul. Therefore, it is very necessary for a musician that his heart and soul should be trained. Would anyone like to pick up?
A shopman, after he has given us change, says, "Thank you." That thank you is forgotten before we have gone 2 steps because it comes from the lips. A grateful person may say, "Thank you." Only that, but it goes to the heart because it comes from the heart. One singer may sing just 1 note, and all the audience is moved. Another sings dozens of notes, and no effect is made. The force of the sound is in proportion to its duration. If we strike a stone, it gives out a short sound that has no effect. If we strike a bell, the sound is more lasting and the effect is greater. If we prolong a tone, the effect is greater, for the life is greater. Sound is breath, the breath which is life. If there is a bell and a stone, and if an organ is played or a piano, the bell will give out a sound, but the stone will not. That which is alive gives out a sound that is alive. That which is dead gives none. The soul which is dead gives no sound. That is why in the ordinary song there are many notes. not one note that lives. All are dead sounds. The music of the great composers lives still. Its echo has come down to us. The echo of the great soul is still here. Thousands who have never thought of anything but itself have gone, and we do not even know that they have existed. The dead souls, the ordinary people, go to hear that dead song. The living soul hears music that is alive. The finer people go to see the tragedy where they are moved and shed a few tears. The ordinary people go to the moving picture where they laugh. The heart finds a joy in feeling, in sorrow. It feels that it is used, and in that there is happiness. The Sufi trains the heart in feeling. There are assemblies among them where call is sung and played, the music of devotion and praise, the music that arouses feeling, the feeling of devotion, of sorrow, of repentance. To think how foolish we are, how stupid we are, how many mistakes we make. Every feeling is practiced. When the heart is made capable of feeling the sorrow and joy of others, everything touches it. Every little sign of mercy, every feeling of admiration. In this, there is happiness. Our feeling must be in our power. A person says, I spoke with that because I was angry. Yes, but why was he angry? One says, I cry because I am sad. I cannot help but being sad. Sadness comes. Or I laugh because I feel humorous. Sorrow and mirth should be under control. The feeling of kindness should be kept as long as we wish, whatever obstacle we meet with. When this control is learned, then no sorrow can come near. Anyone want to continue?
I will. Then there is the music of the soul. In this, there is no feeling, no devotion. There are few words. The syllables have a hidden meaning. It is to awaken the soul, to make the soul conscious of its immortal life. The longer the thought is kept in the mind, the stronger it becomes. The mystic keeps one thought in the mind for 10 minutes, for 20 minutes. He practices this. She practices it with music. First, she impresses one raga upon her mind until it is fixed in her mind like a picture. Then she improves upon the raga and looks at the picture like a painter who paints and then looks at his picture. Then she practices the sound only, without melody, one sound, or to break the monotony, 2 sounds or 3 sounds. After that, she hums. She keeps all feeling away. There is no anger, no bitterness, no prejudice, no attachment, nothing that keeps her bound to the ego. Then there is no outward sound. She keeps the sound in her mind. Then she begins to hear the sound of the breath, the fine sound that the ears cannot hear. A very materialistic person has a loud breath, audible to all. The finer a person, the finer her breath. She hears the sound of her heart, what it speaks, what she hears when the heart of another speaks. This is thought reading. First, she must hear what her own heart says. Then, she hears what is in the heart of others, in their presence and in their absence. We are accustomed to call that which our ears hear sound, but there is also the sound of the mind, of the heart, of the soul. Why do we all like to be alone? We may think that we like to be where we have some company, to talk, to be in the society of others, but we are not happy unless we are alone, away from the town, sitting by some stream or lake. It is because then, unconsciously, we hear the sound of the soul. This sound the Sufi hears in the shaghal, in the qasab. It is very difficult because for this, all the tubes and veins must be open. The soul is a finer essence. And if the veins and tubes are blocked by the fluids, by very much eating, drinking, by alcoholic substances, by very much sleep, by very much comfort and luxury, this sound cannot enter. Would anyone else like to pick up?
I'll go. The Vedanta speaks of Nada Brahma, the sound God, the sound that is God, of which all things are made. Sufis call it Sarat-e-Sarmat, the sound that intoxicates man. The Quran says, Kun fayakun. When God said, be, it became. Before what was always sound. God was sound. We are made of sound. That is why we like music. That is why you are listening to this. Because it is your element. Although it has been dimmed by manifestation, your thought, your mind is made of sound. And I'll read a footnote which mentions that this address was probably given after a musical performance, which to me makes a lot of sense. Shall I continue with chapter 5? The mystery of sound. Check the Sound is perceptual activity of the all-pervading life. Different sounds differ in their outer expression, but within it is one and the same activity which directs all sounds. It is in expression that sounds differ, because of the different instruments through which they are expressed. The deeper we penetrate into the mystery of sound, the more we are able to trace the link that connects all sound. This link is what the musician calls harmony. And it is in harmony that is hidden the secret of joy and peace. As one sound is directed by another sound, so every motion is caused by another motion. Therefore, no activity can take place without a directing activity, and that activity which directs all is called God. This supports the argument of the fatalist that all is done by God, and it also proves the view of the metaphysician that there is no such thing as chance. At the same time, it explains that free will remains, since each sound in its outward manifestation hides within itself its directing activity, so that behind what man calls free will, there is hidden God's will. Would someone else like to read?
As sound takes varying manifestations through different instruments, one sound helps another, harmonizes with another, and one sound differs from another or covers it. All this is merely caused by the instruments, their response to the directing power within, and their relation to each other. This symbolism explains all different aspects of life and shows that good and evil, pleasure and pain, right and wrong, all come from one source. Thus, the chief consolation of the thinker is the understanding of the mystery of life, which understanding affords contentment under all kinds of conditions. The mystic need not follow the principle of contentment unless for convenience. The mystic must be able to rise to the cause instead of laying himself helpless at the feet of the effect. It is that mastery that is called walayat in Sufi terms. I guess I'll continue. It has been shown how every external activity is directed by an inner motion, and how, at the source of it, there is a principal cause. It must be understood that every wave of life that is set in motion by the principal cause works toward a purpose. With its every motion, the purpose becomes more definite, and at its every stage of evolution, it adjusts itself, making a perfect harmony. Although in a limited space, this same activity may appear inharmonious. Therefore, good and evil, right and wrong, when viewed by the keen sight, correspond with a certain purpose and thus prove harmonious from the standpoint of the perfect whole. Every life wave that starts from the innermost part of life becomes stronger with its every succeeding motion. It is a gentle impetus given to a wheel that sets it in motion, and every revolution increases its power. The Sufi recognizes 3 stages of movement. These 3 stages need not be the same in all aspects of life, since every activity adopts the form of a circle, a wheel, and it is according to its circumference that it covers the ground. Thus, these 3 stages may be called slow, moderately fast, and fast. Does anyone else want to?
I'll pick up. At the same time, every activity forms a habit that limits each motion to a certain interval of time, and it is this character of life that forms rhythm. Just as it is necessary that motion should be the source and sustaining power of life, so it is necessary that rhythm should exist in every activity. No motion can exist without rhythm. Rhythm, when of an even nature, is felt by everyone, but when uneven, it is not perceived. There are 2 elements in rhythm: mobility and regularity. The former has a forward, and the latter a lateral movement. The form taken by the movement of rhythm can be seen by observing light that, to the vision of the concentrative mind, is shown to have the form of the cross. The variety found in all aspects of life results mainly from these 3 stages of rhythm and its 2 main elements. But out of these main elements, there arises a third chaotic motion in which mobility and regularity clash together. By recognizing its rhythm, the mystic understands from the character of every activity the cause and result of that particular activity. The first element is rhythm, mobility. The first element in rhythm, mobility, is gentle, productive, creative, and progressive. The second element is active, supporting, and controlling. It is also productive and creative in a more advanced state of things, and it is sustaining. The third element leads to an activity decay, destruction, and death. The idea of Trimurti, three aspects of God, is the symbol among the Hindus of these three powers working as main principles in life. They are named Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the sustainer, and Shiva, the destroyer. Would anyone like to pick up?
Okay. Sorry about that. There are two stages in every activity: action and result. Action manifests itself in audibility and results in visibility. In the Bible, there is a statement about this, that first there was the Word and then there came light. The Quran, in this connection, says that first the Word was spoken and then all became manifest. This is seen in some form or other in every activity which descends from the invisible to the visible. The preparatory stage of all things is audible, and when finished, they are visible. In other words, from the world of sound there came the world of form. Therefore, the Hindus call Nada Brahma the sound god, the creator. All things can be studied and understood by understanding the nature of the perfect life. God can be studied and understood by the study and understanding human nature, and man can be studied and understood by the study and understanding of God. Anybody else want to read the last two paragraphs? Alright, I'm going to go. Since all things are made by the power of sound, of vibration, so everything is made by a portion thereof, and man can create his world by the same power. Among all aspects of knowledge, the knowledge of sound is supreme. For all aspects of knowledge depend upon the knowing of form, except that of sound, which is beyond all form. By the knowledge of sound, man obtains the knowledge of creation, and the mastery of that knowledge helps man to rise to the formless. This knowledge acts as wings for a man. It helps him to rise from earth to heaven, and he can penetrate through life and unseen. The whole manifestation being the phenomenon of sound. The knowledge of sound is the key to the mystery. Uh-oh. I brought up the sidebar somehow. Okay, there we go. My bad. Oh, I'm going to start the paragraph again. The whole manifestation being the phenomenon of sound, the knowledge of sound is the key to the mystery. The knowledge of sound acts as a guide in the maze of names and form. That is the reason for the great importance attached by the yogis to mantra yoga, which to the Sufis is dhikr. There is nothing man cannot accomplish by the power of dhikr, if only he knows dhikr, how to use it, and for what purpose. Just as there is creative power in sound, so is there also destructive power. As in the scriptures, the expression, the blast of the last trumpet, signifies the destructive power of the sound.